How to read a book. It sounds very easy. Most people, when they read a book, if they read a book in these days, but when people read a book, usually they start to read from the beginning and right to the end. Well, that might be very interesting when you're reading a book like Harry Potter's novel, but in order to read a book for non-fiction that you want to gain knowledge from, that is a very unsophisticated way to read a book. So I will present you a method or how to read a book effectively, and that method is called the OPEER method, and we will go briefly over it. So when you start with a book, for example this book, Philosophy for a Better World, so what do you do when you read a book, when you want to read a book? Well, first of all, you start to, and I'll use this method with the overview. And an overview means that you actually, it doesn't even start with the book itself. It starts with Googling the book, Googling who's the author. Well, in this case it's me. But then you Google the author, and maybe also you you Google the title and see if there is a review of the book available. So that you already know what kind of book it is. Then, when you've done a little bit of Googling, then you read the back of the book cover, you see who the recommendations are from, and then you briefly go over the book, especially in the contents, and you look for conclusions. So generally scan the book. So the overview phase is about scanning and Google. So that's external. And in this phase you decide whether or not it makes sense for you to read this book. Do you really need to read this book? What is in there for you? Because be reminded there are millions, billions of books out there. So, and there's only a limited amount of time. So make sure that if you devote time to read a book, that it is the right book for you to read. So that's why the overview phase is very important. So at this moment you decide, okay, it's interesting for me, it adds something to my knowledge gap, I really want to read it. Then you, at that stage, you move to the second phase, which is the preview. In the preview phase you go a little bit deeper into scanning the book. So and be reminded, first of all, if there is a conclusion in the book, because then you read the conclusion. It's not a detective movie. It's about that you know where the author goes to. So start with the concluding chapter. Then you look. At each chapter you read the first paragraph and the last paragraph, the conclusion. So you really get a grip of the book. You go and also check, which is very important, if there is a bibliography in the book. Look at the bibliography. What is what are the sources of the author? And so it's very important to really make the book your own. And if there are any illustrations in the book, in this case there's not, you look at all the illustrations, you look at all the paragraph titles, so that you really get a grip of it. So at that moment, so you already know the conclusion of the book, you know what kind of chapters are there in the book, and then the in-view phase, that is really the reading phase. But still you don't read from page 1 to the last page of the book. You only read the chapters which you think which will add to your what you need. So maybe you don't read the whole book. That's also an idea that people have, that you see to read the book in total. You are in charge of the book. The book is not in charge of you. So you read only the chapters that really are interesting for you. So you decide which chapters to read and also in which order to read the chapters. You are in charge. So if you, for example, if you have some kind of specialty, you start with the chapters where you really know the most of, and then you read maybe the rest, so that you make a decision. But it's not reading only. You make notes, yeah, because, and you can, if it's your own book, then you can make notes in the book itself, or you make external notes. So that's the in-view. But then, if you're done with reading the book or reading the part of the book that you want to read, then you start with a review phase. Then you go over the notes, and maybe make it into a short summary, or you can use a mind map to do that. And then you go over the notes several times. So you go over like 3 times, for example, with 1 week in between. 1 week in between, you go over the notes. And in that way, you really remember what's in the book, and that you really get a grip on what is in the book. So this is something that maybe you haven't learned at school, but now you have, and it really makes studying, first of all, more easy, and it makes it more pleasant. Because if you don't want to read a book, if there's nothing in there for you, don't read it. Don't waste your time reading books. Only read the good books and the good parts of the good books. Good luck.